Good afternoon and welcome back to My Harlem Portraits, the show that aims at shedding a light on the fundamental contribution of African Americans to the building of this country and on Black excellence. To represent Black excellence in the utmost way today, as you can see, we have three beautiful ladies. Three beautiful and gifted ladies. And we are going to talk about Goddess, the magical new musical starring the divine, since it's a goddess, Tony-nominee AMBER IMAN, having its New York premiere at the Public Theater right now and extended through June 29th. And these three beautiful ladies, three young and gifted performers, are Awa Sal Secka, Teshomech Olenja, and Melessie Clark. Welcome to My Harlem Portraits.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So you have the roles of the three griots, which are the West African storytellers, who guide us through this spellbinding love story between Marimba, the goddess of music, and Omari, a young man, with your powerful, chanting voices and dancing. So welcome to My Harlem Portraits.
Thank you. Pleasure.
I would ask you to each one of you briefly introduce yourself, career, just a little bit. We need to know what is the most important for you and what is your specific role in the musical.
Okay, I'll start us off. My name is Teshomech. You said I'd like to show me the way. I am from Albany, Georgia. I'm a country girl, and I've made my way to the big city. I've had some exciting things in my career. This is probably one of the most exciting things that I've ever done. It's so thrilling to do the show with these amazing, talented people. I know you can be a testament to that, but one of my favorite things I've done, I did a TV show called Will Trent, and I played a very interesting character named Veronica. That was very fun. I would love to do more TV, so call me. And I played Tisa in the GRIOTRIO, and we kind of help move the plot along. We tell the story. We are the narrators, the griots of the story. So I'm one of three.
Hello, my name is Melessie Clark, and I do have to attest that I got to see Show Me in that role on television. It was excellent. But I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally, and I moved to New York City after graduating from Point Park in downtown Pittsburgh. And that's home for me and where I really built the majority of my career. I was recently named Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's 2024 Performer of the Year, which is a huge honor. But like Teshomech said, being a part of Goddess has truly been one of the highlights of my career. I auditioned virtually in 2021, and I think it's so amazing how this team was able to put this trio together and just know how we have meshed and blended and have been so cohesive, and working with them has been probably one of the biggest blessings of my career. So it's incredible to get to tell this story every night, and we've gotten to tell so many iterations of it through the years. So it's been really wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes. And hi, my name is Awa Sal Secka. I play Zawadi in the GRIOTRIO. And a highlight of my career, of course, outside of this, I would have to say with the other ladies, has absolutely been the highlight. But another big highlight of my career actually was being a co-playwright on a play that I did with a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, Danny Stoller. We won an award for Best New Play in our community, and yeah, it's called The Joy That Carries You. It is a beautiful, beautiful story, a choreo poem and a play, and yeah, I'm very proud of that work. Yeah.
And is this the one that was received the 2023 and you also received a 2024 Helen Hayes Award or nominated for Best Actor.
Yes, so in 2023, we did win the award for Best New Play. In 2024, I won the award for Best Supporting Actor. I played Sarah in Ragtime and won that award then. Yes, it was also such a magical experience. That was a dream role, and yeah.
Now I remember why I see Ragtime, and it was incredible.
Jealous.
Oh,
I wanted to see
We
it.
all
no
did.
way! You saw it?
loved it so much. We were
Thank you
wonderful.
so much for coming.
Oh, as much as I can see, I do.
Oh, man.
So the show features book and direction by Associate Artistic Director, Resident Director, the Kenyan-born Saheem Ali. The additional book material is by James Ljames. The choreography by Darrell Grand Moultrie, I hope I pronounce well, and music and lyrics by Michael Thurber, and a stellar cast of talented performers. How you answered in part just to it. How did you come to this role? And more important, because you answered more or less already, what are the challenges in this role and what are the rewards? Let's do
Okay. So I started with this team actually in 2019. It was just, it was a song lab. So basically we were on a stage reading through the books, but staged or anything. You're just doing it in front of an audience of people before it was even staged. And I didn't audition for it at that point in the process, because usually with readings, you just get friends to do it and see how it works, you know. So there have been a lot of readings of the show. So many people have had their footprints on it, which is what makes it also very special. But then during COVID, I actually did audition for the roles. I had to work for it. I mean, I was working, but I also did audition virtually as well. And I went home to Georgia with my mom. I was in her kitchen, propped the computer up on a box, and I sung my heart out, and I gave beats through the screen. So very proud of that. And some of my challenges, I would say, is just making sure that I feel like all performers deal with anxiety, that I am constantly trying to remind myself to let go of my own insecurities to tell this story. Like, let go of myself when I get on this stage and be true to telling the story. And the most rewarding part that I have gotten out of this is I discover a new word, a new something in the show every day that inspires me to step into my own light. So it's a challenge every single day to just let go, tell the story, but it's also rewarding because I'm gaining so much internally, mentally. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes. Like Teshomech said, I too auditioned virtually in 2021. It was via Zoom. I too was in my kitchen in my 1-bedroom apartment in Pittsburgh, and I distinctly remembered auditioning and having Michael Thurber, our composer, pluck out a melody line and harmony lines for me to sing back to. And I remember wanting it so bad and constantly checking in, and I just knew at the time in my spirit that there was something so special about this project. And I was like, this feels like something that I align with and that I believe in. And so I'm so grateful to God that it worked out the way it did and that it's become such a huge part of my life over the past couple of years. But one of the challenges I'd probably have to say is zooming out sometimes from the big picture. I think especially in the part of the process that we just wrapped up, which was previews, and we were constantly doing changes. And I think that there is such a desire to get it right. And so you can become very one-tracked in your mentality about it. But when you kind of zoom out and see the big picture and see the story as a whole and the purpose of the story, you kind of remember your why, as we like to say, why we're doing this, why we're telling the story. And it's something that one of our cast members, Destiny Ray, who plays Cheche, constantly reminds us of, is that this is so much bigger than us and our one moment and the things that we're trying to get right throughout the show. So reminding myself of that can be a challenge from time to time, but the reward in that same breath is, I think, seeing the effect that it has on the audience and knowing that people are really leaving changed after seeing our show. That's the hope. And it's always wonderful when we get to hear the response and know that to be true. So
Yes. And yes, you're right. The audience was going crazy.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
Together with me.
As we all did, auditions virtually through a computer. I was actually, my first audition was in my then boyfriend, now fiance's living room. And my second audition, I was in my classroom for a summer camp. I was teaching music. And I begged my boss, I was like, please, I'm so sorry. I know we have a class at this time. Can they come in a little later? I have this workshop and I think it could change my life. And she allowed it. And it was I've never been more grateful for 10 minutes of grace from a person who didn't necessarily owe it to me. You know, it truly did change my life. That audition, that callback, and being with these ladies has been so life-changing and so affirming and beautiful. And I'd say one of the challenges I think that comes with that is this is such a special piece, I think, for me as a first-generation African person. My mother is no longer alive, and seeing our wonderful, the actress who plays Mama Siti, seeing her come up on stage every night and look at our Omari with eyes of affirmation and be there for him as he makes his final speech. I see my mother, and it's so hard knowing that I'm doing a piece that would mean so much to her and knowing that she can't be here to see it.
She's seeing it.
She's seeing it, and amen. And I believe that so deeply. But I think, similar to what Melessie said, the blessing and the takeaway, the grandest thing about this is that I get to be a part of something so extraordinary. So as much as it would have moved my mother in her presence to be here and to have seen this, it is doing that tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold, 1,000,000-fold for every human being that comes to see it. To know that culturally I get to be a part of something that is in alignment with who I am as a human being is something that people like us don't often get to say. You know, as people of color, as people from different cultures, the American theater is so focused on Americanness.
Yes.
And this is a piece of theater that is not focused on Americanness, but that speaks to every single kind of person there is on this planet. And that is magical. And I'm so grateful for it.
You are absolutely right in what you're saying. It is something totally unique. And that's
Yes.
one of the reasons why it's so amazing. Because also it opens the eyes of the average American to the
Yes.
Europe. We are a little bit more open. I'm Italian. We know a little bit more about what's going on, right? Also because we get the news. But here it's so this is an incredible piece, and it gives you Africa. It gives you the colors, the lights, the music, the dancing. I mean, it is so incredible. You start with this. What is human? It's a song. What is human? What is divine? Do either exist until they intertwine? Are heaven and earth merely branches of one tree? The answers can be found within her story. Come with me. This is how you start this, introduce a story. So tell us a little bit about this story. What is, not only what it is, the story about, what it means for you. And you already said a little bit about that.
Well, when we start the show off, I think it offers that mystery, like what is human, what is divine? Can they does one exist without the other? I don't know. I don't know that they do. Like if we didn't have us here in the flesh, would we still have spirit? I think we would, but I just think them coming together is harmonious, which is the birth of music. You know, this story is about how it's a myth about how she created something beautiful out of her odds, which her mom wanted her to be the goddess of war. And she took her lemons and she made lemonade. We're making lemonade, the sweetest lemonade on the stage. And to me, it means, you know, that nothing, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And I feel that every day on that stage. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So good. She got me shook up.
Right.
But like in the same vein, I connect with this piece so much spiritually, as I believe that we all do. And I think there's such a core message about love conquering all, truly, at the end of the day. And something about Marimba, Nadira, also known as in the show, the way, especially towards the end, something that she conjures up, kind of going back in what I like to call snatching the keys, which in my particular belief system, there's this idea of going back and snatching the keys from hell, and you know, to be able to give freedom and love to all. And that's something that I'm reminded of with this story. Just knowing that like there's no mountain too high, no valley too low that love can't reach. And also to Teshomech's point, do either exist? Like, is one existent without the other? Even the fact that it was birthed simply because there was a desire and there was a want for music and love, and knowing that it came from that purity is so beautiful. That maybe it might not have been a necessity, but wow, just because this person wanted this pleasure and this love to be shared, they created this thing. So it makes it that much more of a gift to us as characters in the show, and it means that much outside of it as well.
Wonderful. Awa, tell us.
Yeah, I think of that line very akin to the question of if a tree falls in a forest, can you hear it? Right? There is, of course, the reality that it made noise, it existed, the tree had to fall. But if no one was present to see it, what is its impact? What is its true? And in our humanity, our cognizance, our ability to wonder and dream, I think, brings more glorification to spirituality. I think in my belief system as well, I think, you know, God made us so that we could glorify his name, so that we could speak to him and ask of him and talk to him. And this story is so much of that, you know, how Omari and Nadira interact is not typical of a usual God and human interaction. But I think that's because Nadira as a God is so human in her heart. Her desire for love goes beyond something that is omniscient. It's not just fluff. She wants the depth of love that she knows human beings have the ability to feel. Yeah, I think it explores the mindset of a God in a really beautiful, mind-bending way. I think as human beings, we'll never understand God fully. We can't. That's majesty that I think that we are just too far away from, but I think we will always be in connection to, and I think the story very much speaks to that spirituality has no color, it has no shape, it has no sound. It is everything and nothing and everything in between those two things.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the place, because this is in Mombasa, Kenya, in the present day, and it's in this moto. this club, jazz, hip hop, Afrobeat club. Tell us a little bit about this and what is the problem between the goddess Nadira and the boy that comes back from New York. Why there is a problem? What is he supposed to do? Let's talk a little bit about that. We only have 4 minutes left.
Okay. Well, Mombasa, well, the club, Moto Moto, I think it just reads so well because when we leave the show, that's exactly what we're doing. We go out, we party, we dance, yes, we have fun. I think the issue with it is neither one of them were supposed to be together according to the way that their parents wanted them to live their lives. Our parents have a dream for us, and their dreams weren't in alignment with what their parents wanted for them, but their souls, you know, themselves. I think we often kind of deal with that too. Like sometimes our parents didn't want us to do musical theater, right? They wanted us to be lawyers and doctors, you know. So everything.
I'm gonna let Awa cover about what it means as far as Omari and Nadira, as she's our lovely cover in the show. But speaking to the culture, I feel like what's going on with Moto Moto and Omari's parents, I think that kind of dichotomy is a representation of what's happening inside of Omari, what's happening as far as outside of Mombasa and what's happening in the government, and why his father doesn't want him to be there. That kind of separation is what I think Omari is fighting against politically, but also internally. And we got to kind of get to see that play out in his relationship, particularly with Cheche and Nadira.
Yeah, I would completely agree that his relationship to his want, desire, and what does he say? His duty to his political career is directly abrasive in relation to his want and desire and duty to his heart in his music. And Marimba is the personification of that. She is the physical manifestation of everything he could want in his dream. In his dream life, he would be Nadira. He would work at the club and do that, and but also in his dream life, he would lead people to a better life. He would lead people to a better political way. And no part of him necessarily believes that he can have both. I think until he gets to the point where he has to step away from his father and his preordained marriage and everything that he had set up for him, and has to say, okay, well, I'm willing to lose this. I have to be willing to lose this. And if I have them both, great. And if I can't, I at least have the thing that I know that I need. And what he needs is music. And Nadira is the personification of that. Yeah. So I think that the issue between them is that he's been trying so hard not to want this thing. And then physically, the most beautiful person he's ever seen in his life tells him he can. He can. And he has to choose whether or not to believe that.
Wonderful. Absolutely. There is another thing. There is a conflict, a generational conflict, right?
Yes.
Let's talk just a little bit about that. 1 minute, and then we have to wrap up.
Well, the generational conflict is, I think that our parents, they went through a lot growing up, and they also, someone always tells me, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So when you try to do something that is something that they've never seen before, they have a hard time believing in it. I know even the path that I've taken in my own life, people are like, what are you doing? Like, no one in my family has ever done anything like this. And so they didn't trust me, but I trusted it. I knew that whatever I wanted to happen was going to happen. And I wasn't going to, like, why am I here if I'm not doing what I love to do? And so I think with the generational conflict, you kind of have to, like, say, if you creating electricity was far-fetched until it happened. So airplanes.
Yeah, exactly.
Generational conflict.
Exactly.
I know they mean well.
Of course. They just don't want us to suffer. They don't want us to have a hard time the way they had a hard time in finding their own thing. But I think it's a part of humanity. We experience struggle. We see a new generation, whether it be our own kids or our nieces or our students, whoever. And we, as human beings, we care so much about other human beings that we want to protect them. And we end up wanting to protect them from things they don't need to be protected from. And I think that Omari's clash with his father and mother is very indicative of that very human experience. And also from the other end, young people in trying to explore and find new ways of living and more liberty and more autonomy in their life will sometimes cross boundaries that shouldn't be crossed also, you know? So I think it's a learning process from both ends, that both people are trying to find the best, least abrasive, least hard way of life. And some people will get rubbed the wrong way, but a way of living will be found either way.
Yeah, to be happy, but make other people happy too, because Omari thinks also that he has a responsibility to his people.
Exactly.
Become governor and do the right thing. So a big conflict there.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the encounter with the shaman.
Okay. These are my favorite parts in the show, because we get to step into that spiritual realm, which we are the spiritual griots. It gets into this like ethereal, smoky, and smooth, but he is a seer, which we are too. We see things that are otherworldly. We see things that other people don't get to see. So we get to step in the spiritual world, and people are coming to them, asking them questions about their faith. He tried to tell Madongo.
Right.
He tried to tell Madongo. And if you don't listen, if you defy what spirit is telling you, what God is telling you, you might end up going missing.
Exactly. Like she said, you mentioned Madongo, and I think just like Teshomech said, I think Madongo represents kind of an example in our show, an example of what can happen if you don't follow the rules, but specifically these spiritual rules, whether you're aware of them or not. And after seeing the show, you know that he kind of tests the waters a couple of times, quite literally, and he kind of has it coming for him. But you know, Marimba is giving very clear rules as to what she can do and what she cannot do, and a curse comes as a result of that. So Madongo actually pays the price, and I think it sends a message to not only Nadira but everyone in Mombasa.
Yeah, Balozi is such a special role, and I think the way that Reggie tackles it is so beautiful. We have such a negative pair of eyes for people who live in that kind of spirituality that is outside of the understanding of God that we have.
Yes.
And we talked a lot about it in the room, that, like, you know, Balozi is maybe feared by some, maybe, you know, worshipped by others, but Balozi really is just an in-between. He is the opener of doors, right? And powerful because he is so tuned into that part of him. But Madongo, while reaching out to tune in as well, he's so egotistical and so selfish with his connection and with what he wants from that connection, that he assumes that he knows better than the gods. And like Teshomech said, when you decide that you know better than God, God lets you figure it out on your own. And he sure did figure it out. And it's it's a special tale in the middle of our larger story. It's a very good fable of what it looks like to be, whether or not you consider yourself spiritual, even if you are somebody who is, is happier going through life without spirituality. That another word for spirituality can also be following your gut.
Yeah.
Can also be just following your instinct, your discernment.
Yeah.
And when you don't follow your discernment and you don't follow your gut and you decide that what you know in the back of your head is right is wrong, you go the wrong way very often.
Yes, absolutely. And you of the three are Gambian American, so you have your roots in Africa.
Yes.
You probably feel that.
Yes.
You
In a big way.
recognize some of the
Yes.
things that come out in this show, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In our culture, at least in my mother's generation, when Gambia was colonized, first, before it was colonized by the English, it was colonized by people from the Middle East. So they brought Islam over. But before Islam, it was voodoo. It was juju, And in my mother's generation, you'll find a lot of people who, of course, very diligently follow the Quran, but also practice juju within the right way. You know what I mean? They'll take scripture from the Quran and write it down, and they'll cut it up and put it into a bottle of water, and that water becomes sanctified.
Wow.
Right? They'll speak their fears into an egg and walk down a street and throw the egg at the end of the street as a personification of letting go of your worries.
Oh, I need to do
And
that.
yes. And what they're speaking into the egg is verses from the Quran along with their fears. It is still so intertwined. It is still so a part of the fabric of Africa. And again, it's something that's been so demonized by the West, but it still rings true, I think. I think it still does.
Thank you so much. This was
Thank
a
you.
wonderful interview. This show
Yeah.
is going to Broadway. This
Amen.
show, I can tell
Yes.
you, going to Broadway. Next time we talk, you are going to be on Broadway.
Oh,
wow.
thank
And
you.
receive it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Best wishes for the rest of this time on the show. Thank you to my viewers and